Welcome to
Chats from the Peak,
where God's favorites link up. My name is Lara.
My name is Memi.
Memi, come on. What was that? Jesus Christ. We're on video.
Oh my God, I'm like this.
Oh Lord.
So sorry.
So sorry. Oh my God. We didn't even have to start no other times. Can you get the wiggles and jiggles out? Welcome to
Chats from the Peak,
where God's favorites link up. My name is Lara.
I'm Memi.
And this is Marriage Pinnacle. So we thank you for joining us for another episode of Chats from the Peak. This is our marriage support platform podcast in podcast form, where we bring a topic to the table. We talk about it, kind of give our personal opinions,
our thoughts, our feelings,
and
we try to drop gems and give takeaways to really help our peak seekers through an assortment of issues in life.
Yeah. And so sometimes it also depends, we get listener letters, so sometimes we'll have a listener letter from one of our peak seekers who's sent us something through DM. We'll read it and talk about it from our perspective and try to give as much insight or wisdom as possible. So a little bit about Marriage Pinnacle. We are going on 3 years this year.
Yay!
That is crazy.
Clap for us, everybody! Clap for us.
We're big girls. So 3 years this year for Marriage Pinnacle, and so it is our marriage support platform that really is geared towards millennial couples of color. And we try to curate resources that help to instill healthy marriages, because at the corner of everything, healthy marriages support healthy communities, healthy families, which support healthy communities. So this is for our peak seekers, which is our community. So what do we kind of talk about on Chats from the Peak?
We talk about a little bit of everything. We've had episodes so far on setting healthy boundaries. Yeah. We've had episodes on finances, a little bit of finances, and we try to keep it fun and light. Yeah. We've spoken about Submission was a big one. Please cut that out.
Check out our submission episode.
Please cut out the
check out the submission episode.
I don't know what's wrong with me, y'all. I need some coffee.
You need some coffee.
But yeah, our submission episode was probably one of my favorites. Yeah. So that was really good.
And we have a lot more to come. Communication, conflict resolution, a bunch of stuff. But today, this episode is special because it really is for our dating and engaged peak seekers.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We hear from you guys a lot on is it only for married people? Is it only for married people? So today we're kind of trying to speak to our dating, our engaged folks, and trying to give you guys tips and help you guys know what to look for when you are trying to find the one.
And I think it's important because we try our best. Yes, we are a marriage support platform, but we hope at least that the information that we provide resonates with all people, right? So it doesn't matter if you're married for 20 years or if you're married for 5 or 1 or you're dating. We're hoping that the information really is about relationships, right? But obviously we're coming from the lens of 2 people married. Memi, how long have you been married for?
So I'm 11 years. It'll be 12 years this year. Jesus. Yeah, so we getting up there.
You're not small. You're not a small girl.
They're starting to feel like a real grown woman now. I'm not a baby in this thing no more. So we're getting up there.
And us, we getting on our 10 years.
10 years this year.
It's
what y'all doing? Y'all gotta have something really good planned.
I mean, we traveling by God's grace. We're traveling this year. We're traveling. So
yeah, because y'all been grinding.
Yeah.
So yeah, your vacation is due, sis. It's time.
Tala, you hear that?
Tala, take her out, fly her out, daddy.
Flew me out, right? I deserve it. But yes, so this episode is for our peak seekers, our engaged and dating peak seeker, or even if you're just looking to better yourself in hopes of a future relationship.
And we still have tips too for married, for people who are married as well.
For sure.
What are we talking about today?
So our internet chokehold, right? So this was triggering for me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So this one came out a couple months ago. But I remember I sent it to you because I just
you did.
was so bothered.
Yeah, it
so
bothered you.
this was from a UK blog that. Okay, so a little bit about me and Memi. In real life, we probably were like born in the UK, but we just didn't know because we love like everything UK. Like we
are in it girls.
Yeah,
we're
we're like bruv, all of that. That's slang. That's us.
Top boy, yeah. Love Island, injected in our veins.
We go together real bad.
Lara quit Love Island though, but we're still on the vibes.
God was working on me, so I had to let Love
Island
Island go
for just a little bit.
I had to let Love Island go.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're UK girls real bad in our minds. And there was a UK podcast I was listening to and it showed a clip on one of the sites on the internet. This was a couple months ago. And it was from a podcaster. I'm not putting I don't want to put any podcasts on blast or anything. And it was talking about just like relationships and things like that. And what he defined as like too long, not long enough, or whatever the case may be. And he was asking a female who he was interviewing, does she believe in sex before monogamy? So it wasn't, so I don't think she necessarily said before marriage, but she said sex before monogamy. So like before we're exclusive and it's me and you, are we engaging in like sexual activity? And she flat out said no. She was like, no. She was like, you need to graft. So graft just means you need to work for it.
Cost to graft.
Grafts, like we knew what that meant, but y'all might not know what that means. So she's like, you have to graft. Like you have to work for it. We have to be exclusive. Like, no, you don't just get this for free.
Yeah.
And he was perplexed. Like he was not understanding why he would have to wait. And his thinking was, I mean, I'm getting to know you, so why wouldn't that be a part of getting to know? And she's like, I'm getting to know you, and that's so the
why would I be doing this with you?
So why would I be giving myself to you if I'm getting to know you? And he was really like flabbergasted as to why she had this thinking, right? And so for me, that was a red flag for me, right? And obviously it was a red flag for this lady because she's just like, yeah, then this wouldn't work because I'm not engaging in this with someone I'm getting to know. Because what about if we engage in it and then you realize you don't want to get to know me?
Work.
Then I just gave myself to you and nothing has come out of this relationship.
Correct.
And so for her, it appeared to be a red flag. And so I thought it was really important for us to kind of talk about red flags and green flags.
Yeah.
Red flags and green flags today.
Yeah.
And I just want to know your thoughts on this episode. Like, I mean, on that little clip. Because I remember, like, I was super triggered by it.
Yeah. I think what bothered me the most was that he wasn't interested in like understanding why she was saying what she was saying
at all.
So it was like there was like no respect at all for her boundaries. And again, we talked about boundaries. That was our first episode. And she was very clear. She was like, I don't have sex before monogamy.
Place and
period.
Sex.
And instead of him to be like, well, I mean, I get why you're saying that, but that's just not how I vibe. It was more so of like a degrading thing, kind of like that's dumb. Like, why would you not have sex before monogamy? How will I know if I want to be monogamous with you if we don't have sex? And in my mind, I'm thinking like monogamy is just the first step. Like there are people that are like no sex before marriage.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're saying you don't want to do it before monogamy, and then like what would you do if she said she didn't want to do it before marriage? Like his mind was completely blown. And I did what I hated the most was just how he made it seem, he tried to make her feel small about her choice. And in her mind, she's like, oh, this is a way of me kind of like withholding something that's important to me.
Absolutely.
So in her terms, it's sort of like, this is me protecting my self-worth and what I value. And he was sort of like, that's dumb. Yeah. Like, why do you value that? And
he's like, okay, so while we're getting to know each other, I can go do my thing. And I'm like,
yep. And she was like, no, absolutely not.
She's like, no, if I'm worth it, you wait.
Yeah, you wait. And I just
no, she was really she was so firm in her beliefs. I respected that. I loved it. She didn't flinch. Like she was like, okay, she like I guess if this isn't okay for you, that's fine. But I was perplexed. Yeah. I just could not understand.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so cringe.
Yeah.
And I think it was, like, to your point about red flags, the red flag is that you're speaking to someone who doesn't have the same lens, the same outlook you have on certain things. You value you value sex. Yeah. You put it on it, like, that's something that's important to you. That you hold on to you know it's someone that's serious. Yeah. This person clearly doesn't really value it. That's right. Sex is an activity that he loves to engage in, and he does it on his own wiles. Hey, that's him. Yeah. But there are people out there who feel the same way he feels. Exactly. And there's someone out there who feels the same way she would feel. Absolutely. So it's like, having red flags is a good way to sort of understand, who am I supposed to connect with? Correct. Is this someone that values what I value? No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's a red flag for me that I probably don't want to look past. I probably don't want to work over, because if that's a red flag you sort of like overlook, then the next thing you're off rip, you're jeopardizing your values. Exactly. So it's just it's a snowball effect from there. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, unfortunately, in the dating pool, like, what I hear so much is, from like our single, like, little sisters and stuff, that there's pee in the dating pool. Like, that is
that makes me so sad when people say that.
Yeah, like, there's pee in the dating pool. People say that a lot.
Like, there's piss in the dating pool.
And
I'm so sorry, guys.
Because of that, I think people kind of like turn a blind eye to their red flags. So true. Things that they, at their core, do not believe or do not feel aligned with who they are. Yeah. But they kind of forego this because it's like, well, there's pee in a dating pool, so I kind of gotta be used to. I gotta go with it, and so you realize that you're compromising on your red flags, and you're making like excuses for things that you really wouldn't tolerate. Exactly. And I think why I really resonated with the young lady was that she was so self-assured, at least to me. That's the perception I got, that she didn't care. She was like, you could be attractive, you could be the last person on earth, but no. She's like, I'm not compromising this part of my values because
I want a man.
Because I want a man.
Or because I want attention. Because you're not even getting the man. You're just getting his attention. Right. For however long that lasts.
He already kind of made it clear that, like, because he's not willing to wait or compromise in this regard, he will likely get this from somewhere else.
That's not a red flag. I don't know what it is, because all that says is that, okay, so let's say I do give myself to you and you love it, and we move forward. Yeah. So anytime in the relationship, am I supposed to think that anytime you're not getting your way or getting what you want, you're going to go get it elsewhere? Like, I would feel so insecure.
Absolutely.
Just from that one statement you made. Yeah. I will already in my mind be thinking about, like, oh, okay, so you're not down to ride. Like, you're going to be outside as soon as a little bit of stuff hits the fan.
Right, exactly.
So, it's, I feel like one of the things that I, like the other day, like, one of my friends had called me. She was like, oh, I'm going on a first date. What are some questions I should ask? I was like, you can ask questions, but people tell you what you want to hear. So if someone's not telling you what you even want to hear, then you already know he's not right.
Especially the first date. Yeah. Especially, like, those first few interactions, you are putting on your best face. Yes. Bottom line.
Like, you giving it all. At least you're trying to.
Exactly.
So that's why that video was so weird, because he wasn't even trying.
It was like, this is who I am.
He wasn't
Take
even
it or leave it, baby. Take it or leave it.
So it's like, it's good and a bad thing. Like, at least you're not pretending, but then it's like, get out.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like, why I feel like there are, to me, and we'll get into this, like, during the relationship gems, I do believe that there are some, like, red flags that I might think are red flags, but you might be like, no, that's not even really a big deal for me.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, for some people, there's nothing wrong with what he said.
Yeah. They feel the same way.
They feel the same way. Like, sex is important. It needs to be had early.
So I know what's up. There's some people like that.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like for me, and that's why I make sure I say that for me, it was triggering. For me, it was a red flag. For me, it showed that, okay, well, maybe I can't trust this part of myself with someone who has these type of values.
Exactly.
But I think, again, there are universal red flags, right? And we'll get into that. Yeah. But for me, the internet chokehold was just the fact that, like, whoa, it was a trigger. It prompted me to think about it. And I was like, I would love for us to talk about this on a podcast. And, like, to me, I feel like there's no knock to this gentleman.
No, it's his prerogative, right?
Correct.
Like, we're all adults.
But for me, it was just triggering because I was just like, oh, okay. You know, and I think maybe because we've been out the game for a minute. So maybe.
Like, oh, that's what y'all doing out here?
Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know.
Oh, that's why y'all say it's piss in the dating pool. I get it.
You know, so, you know, I think we also come from a different mindset. Like, this young man might have been in his 20s.
Yeah.
He's still young. We are not in our 20s.
Yeah, we're grown. We're very grown.
We are not in our 20s. We are not in our 20s. We are not in our 20s. But so the views could be very different, you know? And so I reserve the right to say that it was a red flag for me, but that doesn't mean it's a universal red flag. And I think that that's also the beauty of red flags, is that there are things that will be very unique to you.
And personal.
Right. Based on, like, your upbringing, your culture, your, you know,
belief
system, your dating history and your relationship history. All of those things will make up, like, what you constitute as a red flag or not, you know? And so, and I think on the flip side, that's the same thing with green flags, right? You know, what I might deem as like, oh, that's a check. You like, okay, that's basic.
And like, that's a good segue, because I saw something that I thought was super sweet, and it was some green flags. It was Lauren London was speaking about Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, Nipsey. But this is what she said. She said, "We never argued or fought, but I would be crazy sometimes. And in those moments, he never lost his cool, green flag 1, never disrespected me back, green flag 2, or called me out my name, big green flag 3. And he loved me anyway. I would get hot-headed, sometimes out of line, and aimed at him because it was easy. But he would love me, hug me, and he would stay patient and bring me back to character. Green flag 4, 5, 6. So for me, when I read that, I was just like, wow, you know, and that to me are the things that I consider to be green flags. Like, when I'm mad, you can calm me down. You don't match my energy. You don't escalate. You don't
you go low, you go lower.
you don't go lower. You keep it cute. Like, you be like, babe, calm down. Like, I got you. And you know, that could be like wishful thinking, but for her, that's something she experienced, and to me, that would be a green flag. That would be something that would make me feel like, wow, like I can feel safe with this man. I could be vulnerable with this man. He can see the worst parts of me and still love me. Like, those are the things that you run towards when you are dating and engaged, or in the engaged phase of your life. Like, those are the things you're looking for. Those are the things that make you want to give yourself and learn this person and just get closer to this person. So also, like, when I told Lara was like, okay. So she was like, that's not normal, you know? So when we talk about green flags, it's personal because in my experience, those are the things that I need to feel safe. Because I'm not the kind of person that feels vulnerable and safe off rip. Like, you have to really earn that with me. And so I need to see things like that in order to let my walls down and for me to feel more comfortable in being who I am. So,
you know, and I remember when we were talking about it, and I was like, that's not normal. You know, and I don't say that, you know, I do have to recognize that, you know, I always say that, like, I do feel like our husbands are I don't want to say exceptions to the rule. I don't want to say that.
They're nice guys.
They're nice guys. You know what I mean? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because, like, when she said, oh, he doesn't call me out my name, I'm just like,
well, like, why would that ever be on the table?
Call me out my name, like what?
Like, how did we even get there?
Saying, Lara, you called me my middle name? Like, I'm confused. Like, what do you mean call me out of my name?
You a scallywag.
I don't think Cullen knows how to spell.
Like, why would he even say that?
Like, why would he say that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. But I think that goes for me too. Like, in my mind, as mad as someone might make me, it just has never crossed my mind to call him out of his name. That's just me. Yeah. But I also recognize, like you said, based on past relationships, based on your other experiences, that might have been something that happened
to you. Yeah.
And so now you're in a relationship where that's not happening. That is a green flag.
You're like, yes.
You're like, oh wow, I'm respected.
Oh,
like,
he's nice.
Oh, he's nice.
He's real nice.
He's nice. Oh, we going to Chick-fil-A. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, he got money.
Like, that is the things that happen. When in essence, like for me, it's like I haven't been on the other side where it's been like,
so it's standard to you.
So it's standard. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I think that's a good point. Like that's what makes red flag. Like they are so personal.
Yeah, they are.
They are based on your experiences.
There you go again. There you go.
Lara's really set me up. Lara, please don't touch my mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's like gives me a run for my money every time, y'all. Oh my god.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, it's based on what you've been through.
Agreed.
And it's important to know yourself.
Yeah.
So that you're able to kind of identify those red flags, because you could think, oh, I can handle this. I've done it before.
Yeah.
But no, baby, you need to realize like this didn't work last time, and it's probably not going to work this time. So you should probably take that as a red flag and run the other way.
Or address it. Because, sometimes, I think that it's not always... Why are you laughing?
Because, Lara, sorry, because I'm always like a breakup with him. And so it's like you always be like, Memi.
No, you really do be like, go.
Get out. Because life is short. Please, like, leave. But no, you're right.
Or work through it.
You can work through it.
That means work through it.
Yes.
I'm glad you highlighted it yourself, because you are always run for the hills.
Lara, I just don't like rahala. I don't like rubbish. Like,
Memi.
Dating? You're giving me a headache while I'm dating? I'm gone. Like, what is wrong with you? Okay, sorry guys. Don't listen. Cut that.
Please don't listen to her. Like, can you work through it? Now, my thing is, I agree with you, right? Like, there are situations where you should, like, okay, this is a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, things like abuse. We don't need to work through that.
Yeah,
we don't need to work through.
Zero tolerance.
Okay, he hit me on this side. Let me wait till he hits me on this side, and then I go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
if you hands on me, we're out. I'm coming to help you pack your bags.
That's
every
agreed.
time.
But I do feel like sometimes, like, when you don't know better, you don't do better. And so it's not until like this is brought to my awareness that I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize I had a faulty way of thinking.
That's true.
I had a faulty way of seeing the world, and for me, I think that maybe that's my psychologist had like, based on like our upbringing, we see things from a different lens, right? And so I think that sometimes just comes to a conversation. And if it's something I can fix or something I can work on, then you weather the storm together. But like when you got these like universal red flags, run for the hills, sis. Run for the hills.
Any form of abuse.
I'm not playing that.
Emotional, physical, spiritual, mental.
Yeah.
Anything that makes you feel less than who you are. Yeah, that's abuse to me.
Yeah, for sure. So that was just a little internet chokehold, which I don't even think it's a chokehold. I just think it's
just something we saw.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
It was crazy, but
it was wild.
So we're going to be talking about red flags and green flags today, as you can guess. And so I'm going to ask, like, what do you consider a red flag? Yeah,
so I think a red flag. So like I like our categorization that we have. Like you have your universal red flags, and then you have the red flags that are personal to you.
Correct.
So for me, a red flag would be anything that falls in the category of abuse. Like, are you verbally abusive? Are you mentally abusive? Do you play mind games with me? Do you gaslight me? Do you make me feel insecure about myself, about who I am? Do you lie to me? Are you a thief? Like, it's just certain things that...
So you feel like those are...
universal red flags.
Okay. All right.
Like, just things that just make you to just be a not good person.
Yeah.
For anyone. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the personal red flags are things that, like what we talked about, like the guy not respecting boundaries, and depending on what is your boundaries. You have your boundaries and someone doesn't respect that. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't think this will work. Or, like another like personal red flag could be not wanting to get to know my family. Like, there's some people that might be like, okay, I'm not that close to my family either, so it might be okay.
Yeah.
But someone like me, like I'm really close to my family, so it would be important for you to be close to my family, or at least want to be around my family.
That's good.
So that could be something that's personal based on your experiences.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So if we think about even like visually, what is a red flag? Usually we see caution. We see stop signs.
Yeah.
It's like the flashing lights. Danger, get out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's usually, it's usually like something that is like illuminating behavior that you need to fix.
Yeah.
That potentially puts your relationship in danger or in jeopardy.
Or you in jeopardy.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like if we think about it in those terms, right, when they say red flag on the play, it's usually like something egregious has happened. There's egregious behavior. Egregious means, I know you're laughing because
I really like that word.
I was gonna say, I knew you were laughing because of the word. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
When I say I know my friend. Egregious. Are you serious?
I'm done.
Memi, please.
Egregious.
Wow, can you be serious?
I love that word, but it's just that I know I listen to be like, what? Sorry, y'all, she's a doctor. She has a PhD, so that's how they talk. Can't help it.
So when there is behavior that is unhealthy.
There you go. Egregious was good too. I like the egregious.
When you have behavior that is unhealthy or potentially puts the relationship, a person, both parties at risk, it's considered a red flag, right? And so like we said, they're like universal red flags. There are, the abuse of any kind, emotional abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, manipulation. Those are the things that are like glaring. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. But then we need to consider personal red flags. So based on trauma, based on past relationships, based on your upbringing, based on your culture, then there are other types of red flags, right? And so like you said, I think there was a great one about the family or like not even embracing culture. So like, we both did marry people from the same tribe as us, but no, you didn't. Well, technically, y'all were different tribes.
We're both Nigerian, but we're kind of different. Yeah,
but so even if we go to that level, right? We know, like within our like culture as Nigerians, there are different tribes. Yes, and maybe not for our generation so much, but like our parents' generation, it was like, oh no,
gotta be from the same tribe.
You can
get down to the village.
If you get brownie points.
You get down to the same block.
If the parents were friends growing up, you in there.
You're good.
But like, like back our parents' generation, it was like, don't bring nobody home that's not Yoruba. Don't bring nobody home that's not Igbo. Don't bring nobody home that's not Edo. Like, we want the same across the board. And so even down to that's a red flag. And the thing is, person could be great. Person can love you down. Person's financially stable. All of these things. But when it gets down to the list and you hit tribe, red flag.
You gotta go, And simply not even just because like, I think it will cause, like, I don't like it. It's just like, I can't take you home.
I can't take you home to my family.
If I take you home, and my family is very important to me. So it's like, do I choose you? Do I choose my family?
Right. Yeah. And so that's so getting back to the root of it, I think when we think about personal red flags, I think it really is this idea of my belief system in terms of like this, whatever this core value is. Like, how do these things intersect?
That's good. That's really good.
How do these things intersect? And so a lot of times you'll see that like, okay, my values supersede this, and that's why it's a red flag for me. Prime example with the culture. So like, because my family is so important to me, this has now become a red flag.
Correct.
Not a red flag because you're not making me feel safe, but because my values and my beliefs and my culture are so important to me that this now supersedes this aspect of you, and now it's a red flag.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is unfortunate too, right? Because it's not like the person is manipulative. It's not like the person is harmful to you in any way, but because your values are here and this person unfortunately doesn't meet it, it becomes a red flag.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's basically like, instead of, it's the epitome of, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it. That's good.
So like the personal red flags are more inward.
Yeah.
And whereas the universal ones are more like, no, you're problematic. But this one is like, it's nothing wrong with you, baby. Like, you're great.
Yeah.
But it's not going to align.
It's not going to align
with me.
It's not going to align. And I think, we talk about it all the time, like just on our platform, like at the root of it, your values are the foundation of your relationship. Like if you do not have aligned values, that was in our ebook, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have aligned values, it can make things so difficult. And that's the thing. So like we're talking about these like red flags. Oh, he's verbally abusive, blah, blah. But like when we get down to it, right, your values still can cause red flags later. And so what you recognize is like, oh, it's not a big deal. He just don't talk to his family.
Correct.
But family's super important to you.
So it's going to come up.
So it comes up.
And
it might not come up like it's like, okay, we always going to my family for dinner and that's cool. But then when we start our own family,
where do we go? Like, what do we tell our kids?
What are we telling our kids? Or like now that y'all married and he's saying we're not going nowhere because family's not important.
Yeah.
You stuck.
Yeah.
In short.
That's really good. That's really good.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's like a direct message to our dating and engaged peak seekers. You have to be in tune with your values and what is important to you. Because so often you see people that don't really know what those values are, or you don't even realize that these things are important to you until you're married and you realize that your spouse, your husband or your wife is not is not receptive to, they don't care about the same things you care about.
Exactly.
They're not open to the same things you're open to. You're not on the same page. That causes immediate issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe to me, I think it's a perfect segue. So we talked about this in other episodes, right? We think conversation is so important. We think that like it's the hallmark of like a relationship, you having healthy communication. And so we created some conversation cards.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we created
our little babies are finally here.
Finally. It's been a labor of love, y'all.
It's been a labor of love, a serious one.
So like we have it we got it for our dating and engaged as well as for our married folks as well. And so it's 101 chats to reach the peak, right? And so these are the things that we think are so important. These kind of conversations we think are so important to have, because if y'all are not talking at the dating and engaged stage,
it's hard.
It's hard. And like if some of these things, so like this is a question I think culturally, for us, it might not be that big of a deal, but like if you're dating somebody from a different culture and you hear this question, you like, this would never come up because it's an immediate no.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly,
no.
yeah.
But then you realize like, oh, this is culturally acceptable. So like one question here is, what are your thoughts on family members staying with us long term, aka more than 3 months? So
that's a very good question.
Think about it. Like, to me, even though I want my mama living with me for 3 months, I don't want her to. But if she had to, that is culturally acceptable.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's typical.
It's typical. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when my brother was born, my grandmother, and just so happened that my mom and her sisters all had babies around the same time. My grandmother, 3 months at each place.
Yeah, I love that.
And circle the block and spun it back again, you know? But she was there for long periods of time, and it wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind. It's just what happened. Yeah. But for some relationships, they're like,
why would they do that?
Why? Who's there?
Yeah. In my family house, my parents had like our house was almost like a hostel sometimes. Like, it would just not even be, like, we wouldn't even be blood related, but it would be like...
Somebody was at your house.
Yeah, like somebody, oh, I'm coming to have a baby in America. Oh, the Danian house. Where else would you go? Like, go stay at the Danian house. Do you know how many times I was kicked out of my room for months on end because someone wanted to come have a baby, or just someone was just passing through and just needed a place to stay. So family members staying with me, it has no...
Y'all was doing God's work.
Like, my mother is, my parents are, like, they call them little angels.
Angels, praise God.
So, I mean, it's having family or anyone sharing my home, I'm so used to it.
Right.
But it's like, that is a very important question, because if it ever came up, I'll be like, sure.
Yeah.
You know, like, wherever you want to stay.
Exactly.
You know?
But I think that it's important to have those conversations, like, that might not intuitively come up.
Yeah.
During dating.
Because for what?
Because for what?
Like, we having fun. We outside. Like, we're dating. Stop. Don't start. Every time I say outside, you get upset.
I get triggered. So I just want you to, like, get to the next stage in life. But okay.
There's no...
Okay. We don't have to. Not this time. Okay. So yeah, you're right. So, but yes, I feel like that's a question that wouldn't naturally come up, right?
Yeah.
And so that is where we come in, right? These are the type of things we've heard from friends and like people who are dating, and like, nah, that would never happen in my household. And so it's sometimes just conversations that need to be had, right?
Yeah.
So that's a question that we come up with, like, I think it's a good one.
What makes forgiveness easy or hard for you in our relationship? Yeah.
We got friends. They ain't saying sorry.
Yeah.
They not saying sorry in their relationships, because are they ever wrong? No, they're not.
Not you pointing.
I'm just saying.
At our producer.
I mean, I'm just saying. So like, when you're dating and you're engaged, like, that's a conversation to have in the beginning. Like, if I know that, like, okay, saying sorry or even just forgiveness, what are your views on forgiveness? How do we bring it up? Are you the type of person who needs to hear I'm sorry? That's an important type of question to have. You know what I mean? So I feel like, it's 101. 101 questions,
look,
just to get you started.
If you don't get some red flags out of this, then y'all not using it right.
You're not using it right. You're not using it right.
Get something out of that.
You're not using it right. So like, we think it's so important to have these type of conversations, because that's what's going to get you to figure out what your red flags are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And red flags are not synonymous with deal breakers, right?
Say it again.
Like, red flags are not synonymous with deal breakers.
Yeah.
So just because it's a red flag does not mean it's a deal breaker. Red flags can be deal breakers.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good one. So like, we have so many different types of questions. We got the fun ones, we got the serious ones, but we have more serious ones.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot.
Because it's a lot. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, a broken engagement or a relationship is better than a broken marriage. 100%. You know what I mean? So 100%. Like, we would rather you guys get to the root while you're dating. Seriously dating, even engaged, and get to some of these answers that you're like, ugh, okay, well, I didn't know that about you, and that did come up, and maybe that is something that really I do need to take some time to think about. Do that, and then figure out what you want to do with next steps. But have these type of conversations.
Have them. Please have them. And the cards, we're going to be doing pre-order very soon. So check our website. Check our blogs and our Instagram page. We'll have a lot more information about when and where the cards will be available.
But just know, 101 chats to reach the peak. Because at the end of the day, our brand really is about reaching the peak, right? We talk about the pinnacle, marriage pinnacle. It is about how do we navigate these lows, because they are there. Like, any person telling you that marriage is a cakewalk, I don't know what kind of marriage they got. It's hard.
They're lying.
It's hard. So like, but how can we reach the peak? And so this is just one avenue that we feel really strongly on. And we talk about it at the core is always communication. And so having conversations started to get the conversations going. So be on the lookout for that.
Just part of your toolkit.
Part of the toolkit. I love that. So, okay, flip side, green flags.
So what are some for me? I definitely need to feel safe.
That's good.
Like, I'm very, very big on needing security in my relationships, even my friendships. Like friendships, siblingships. I need to feel.
Is that a word?
It is today. Siblingships. But yes, I need to feel like you got me. I need to feel like no matter what happens, you got me. Like one of the turning points for me and Doc's relationship was during one of our, like, when I graduated and he was still in college, and I had started working and he was still in school, and every single day I was like, oh, he outside, he doing this, he
jealous.
doing this. I was big jealous, very jealous, because I was in St. Mary's County, wasn't nothing going on.
I know.
I know you know.
I know.
And so wasn't nothing happening in St. Mary's County. So I was, yes, number one, I was jealous, but then number two, I felt threatened. I felt like, oh, he's having all this fun. I'm not there. Like anything could be happening. And so we had a fight. I don't know, something dumb. Probably like him calling me back. You said you were gonna call me back at 8:45.
You called me back at 8:46.
Like, why would you do that? You know, stop playing with me. And so he was just like, you gotta chill, da 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 da. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't think this is working. Like, da 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 da. Like, we're just like, you're gonna leave me anyway. Like, you know, that having that sort of like that.
What's wrong with you?
That conversation. And his whole thing was, I'm never leaving. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And so that for me was like
big.
That was huge for me.
I like that.
It was like that. Cause I believed him. I believed that. Cause I was a little bit crazy, and he literally wasn't going anywhere. And I was just like, oh, I think he might really not be going.
Staying for the long haul. Praise God.
I think he's in it to win it. So I was like, okay, all right, bet. And so immediately guards down.
Yeah.
You know, guards melted all the way down, walls down. And it's like, oh, do whatever you want. Yeah. Call me whenever you like. I don't care. You already say you're not going nowhere. So I'm good now. I'm good. Yeah, like it's just sometimes you just need that one thing to just make you feel comfortable, secure, validated, be able to be vulnerable. Yeah. So that is a huge green flag for me. That I need that sense of we're in this together, you know. That's good. So that's good. How about you?
So for me, it's crazy because when I think about like the checklist, right? Like the checklist you have, like, oh, stable, family oriented, tall. All right, relax. Can we get to the meat, please?
Sorry. Gotta get that out the way first. You gotta be cute.
Like what else? Oh yeah, like, you know, believes in God, blah, blah, blah. Like those are the things like I remember like that were necessary for the list, right? But then like I think about it, like I need somebody who is a leader. That is a green flag for me.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's crazy because like I was independent. Yeah. I was.
We talked about this on submission.
Yeah, we did. I was. And I feel like almost like how men's hands get broken after they get married and they can't cook no more.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like the same way for me. Like I no longer felt like I needed to be a leader. Yeah. Because I felt like that was an area to like thrive in. Like he's a leader. So I felt like that's such a green flag for me. And so like I even see that like in my son. I'm like, that boy's a leader. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
he like your daddy.
He ain't following behind nobody. Yeah. Like that boy's a leader.
That's good.
And like even Levi, every time you go to school, what you need to be a leader.
Oh, that's
like,
good.
He has to say, because like I think that's such an important quality. Like I want you to have a backbone. Like that's super important to me. And I feel like also, that safety and security as well is important as well. And I think that's a green flag, you know. And I mean, there's a list of other ones, but I feel like it's so important to recognize that like green flags, I think green flags are more personal than like how red flags are.
I was going to say, are they universal green flags?
Yeah, I feel like healthy communication. You know what I mean? Like is a
stuff like that.
Green flag or being able to communicate. Yeah. Because that, you know, we're going to talk about, we ain't never going to not talk about communication.
That's a common thread. Yeah. Everything.
And then I think also like green flag, like willing to compromise. Yeah. And then because, you know, I feel like
just like certain things that you need in a to make a relationship make sense.
Can it make sense? Is it kicking? Is it entering? Like Levi was like, poor my baby Levi. The boy, I don't know, his teacher was telling him something one time. And he was like, you know, Levi be wilding in school. So Levi's teacher was telling him something, and she was like, you know, Levi, does it go in your ears? She was like, it does, but it just goes out the other ear. Please. And I feel like you want it to stick. You want it to stick. Lara, I cannot handle Levi. It just goes out the other ear.
And he sounded so distressed. Like, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Levi, listen.
Let us stick and enter, please.
Process.
He's only 5, but still.
Oh, God,
so like let
so
it enter.
funny.
You know what I mean? And so I feel like
out.
it just goes
I
out.
just can't keep
your
it.
ear. And he was so. His teacher was like holding back laughter, and I'm like, I can imagine.
Lord.
I can imagine. But I feel like, you know, like those green flags. I feel like they're. Are there things that you're able to do to like compromise for the relationship?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think about things like therapy, right? So obviously like there's premarital counseling, but like, and I think that's even one of the questions we have in our conversation cards is like, if we were in a rough patch, would you be open to therapy?
Yeah, that is so good.
Because
so
I just feel like you don't know what you're like. You can know a person, but when you married,
please go to therapy.
Different ball game.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes like it's a flat out like, nah, I ain't telling nobody our business. Da, da, da. And I'm like,
it hurts me so bad
to my core.
When people are so against
core.
it makes me so sad.
To my core.
Because I get it, like not all therapists are created the same.
No,
and it is definitely a journey finding the right therapist for you. Like don't let anybody act like it's a magic.
Correct.
It's not magic. And you can still be going, have a great therapist and not get anything from it. Because you get in what you put out. When
That's facts.
Right? You get out what you put in.
That's it right there.
So it's not a fix-all, but it's just so important.
Yeah. Because perspective, like sometimes you just don't have the insight you don't have.
You just don't. And it's just that view of like, you know, like in the movies when someone is like looking at themselves from the outside. Yeah. It's like that's what therapy helps you do. Yeah. It helps you see yourself like outside of your body. That's and it helps you make sense of the things that you're doing. Correct. Like you think that everything you're doing is not tied to stuff, but it is. Your behavior is tied to things.
Very much so.
It could be things from your childhood. It could be past trauma. It could be your experiences, even in adulthood. But your behaviors are linked. Yeah. So
come on, plug in my sister.
You feel me?
I ain't had to do work. You had
one
to
thing about me.
Come on now.
We in therapy is like this.
Yeah,
so, and I just feel like it's so important.
It
and when people are so against it, it bothers me because I'm just like, you probably need it more than anyone else. The more against therapy you are, the more I believe you need it. Yeah. So just go.
That's good. That's actually a good one. That's actually real good.
Well, Lara, you know a green flag that I just thought about that I've heard before and I think is so good is if you go on a first date with a man or woman, how do they treat the waiters and the help staff, or just in anywhere? Like how do they treat the valet?
Just had a conversation with
So I think that is also a really good thing to watch out for, and not because it means like, oh, if he's mean, he's evil, or if she's rude, she's mean, but it just kind of gives you that insight in how this person moves through the world, right?
Yeah. So it's crazy that you brought that up because a friend of mine literally just said that like a week ago. I was at dinner with a friend and she said that. She just was like, like when you see how people treat like wait staff, it can be like cringy.
Yeah, it gives you the ick.
Yeah. The ick.
It's gonna give me the ick.
That's another UK word.
Please don't be rude to people. Like it's just it's so unbecoming.
Yeah, it is. I agree. That's a good one. Yeah. So I think in relationships, right, these red flags and green flags are things that you should be on the lookout for, obviously, right? But I think that it's important that you recognize like what works for you and like what didn't work, right? So so I think, for example, I feel like in relationships, things can be going well, and going back to the thing that you said about like run for the hills when you saw like one thing that was like out of like order. I think that those are great opportunities to kind of do like a self-check, right? Like, is this something I can deal with for the rest of my life?
The rest
of my life.
Like 50 years.
If this never changes, I think that's another conversation card. If this never changes, ever.
Yeah. That has to be a mentality.
Am I okay with living with this behavior or this mindset or this value or this belief for the rest of my life? That is a hard question to kind of...
It is.
Even for people who are married, right?
It is.
I'm dealing with this for the rest of my life. This person is not... Even if they change a little bit at the core of it, that's probably going to be how they are.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
That's a painful reality.
It's a painful reality. But I think it's also a necessary reality, though.
Yeah. It's important.
It's important.
because you can't go into something with the idea that it would change. It's just so, it's like you just cause yourself so much headache, so much stress that could be avoided if you just, you know, scoop up these little flags along the way. And, you know, like maybe when you get to like 10, you run, you know, maybe not 1 or 2, like I want you
like
to.
you wanted
yeah,
to.
but like maybe you get to like a certain number and you're just like, yeah, I think this is enough. I think it might be too much for me.
Yeah.
Because these things don't just go away. They don't. Like, just think of the red flags that you are accepting or the ones that you are can live with, and just imagine those things. Imagine if they multiply these. Imagine if they just grow. Imagine if it gets worse. You know, so yeah, it's adulting is hard. Adulting is hard. Making these life altering decisions it's not easy. Yeah. And it's something that we don't want people to take lightly.
For sure.
So who you marry, who you have children with, who, like, that determines so much of your life quality. And I don't think people put enough weight on it.
Agreed.
You know, and social media helps take off a lot of that weight because, you know, you think about the glitz and glamour of it all. And not even, I know people talk about the wedding all the time. Sometimes it's not even a wedding. It's the big Valentine's Day bouquets. It's the flexing, like, oh, I got a man. And she don't, or, you know, or I got her man. You know, it's a lot of things that people associate with being chosen and being good enough and what that means to them, or even the pressure of being a 30-something African or, you know, immigrant girl and you don't have no man. Yeah. Or that the pressure that comes with. Yeah. That leads people to do crazy stuff.
Agreed.
You know? That's so it's just, but you don't realize how much that impacts the wrong marriage. Marrying the wrong man or woman can ruin your life. It can ruin a big chunk of your life. Even if you redeem yourself and you come back from it, it's time that is shaved off of your life in dealing with that kind of relationship. Yeah. So it's, get the cards when they're available, please.
Shameless plug.
Please get the card. Ask the questions. Yeah. Pay attention to the red flags. Yes. Go to therapy.
Yes.
You know, do the work. Do the work on yourself. Yeah. That's good. Try to get with someone that is also doing the work and is healed.
Come on now.
Because it's,
speak on it.
Girl, it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into this life.
So what would you say for, like, okay, I'm in it already.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Homeboy got some red flags. Homegirl got some red flags. What do I do? Like, I mean, we still have to speak to the married folks. Like us. Like, I mean, I feel like even us, right? Like, it might not be red flags, but I definitely think the things that we walked into our relationships with and knowing, and then we in it now. Yeah. You know?
It's the 80-20 thing, right? Like, I think we talked about that before. Like, there's 80% of your partner that is, like, checks all the boxes and has everything you want. And then you hope, and then that 20% we hope is just 20, but sometimes it's more, a little bit more. Sometimes it's less. Yeah. But nobody's perfect. Yeah. None of us are perfect. Yeah. We also have 20s that I'm more like a 10.
I'm more like a
maybe an
20%.
Yeah. 98%. I don't think I'll be here 20 yet. So. But is that 98?
Definitely 98.
Wow, La, you're just almost there. Please. But
but
everybody has that piece that is just not perfect. That
for sure
needs work and needs to, like, the other partner has to basically deal with this piece of you that will constantly be a work in progress. Right. And I think that work in progress piece is the important part. Yeah. Like, of course, I know my flaws, and I'm just constantly always gonna be working on it. You know.
I'm not trying to be funny. You genuinely, do you believe you be working on your red flags?
Yeah. Okay. I do. Okay. Even if I take a break, I'm working on them.
I really be.
Lara, you're never trying to be serious.
Okay. Okay.
Dapo's gonna love this part.
Yeah. Because I'm saying the same thing for myself. So, like, you can ask me the same question.
What you saying?
Because I'm just making sure, like,
you say 2%. So
it's not that much of a margin for me to work on, but I'm working on the 2%. Okay. I am. And I feel like there's I will be on a serious note.
Okay.
I do believe like, even just in doing this with you, I do feel like it has illuminated me more to the areas that I do need to work on. No, honestly,
that means a lot.
Not because of you, but I'm just saying because of the work we're doing. That's what I'm saying. Jesus Christ. Not because of you, but because of the work we're doing.
I get you.
Right. I do feel
but
like
it's a little bit of me. Okay, sorry.
It is a little bit of you. So I think that
it's so nice and sweet.
Get off of me. I do feel like it had, because I think as we're telling people, like, do this, do that, I'm also having to check myself, like, are you doing the same thing? Like,
especially because our husbands watch. So a lot of it be embarrassing, because I'm just like, let me not be out here pretending. Because that will call me out. All I will call you out too.
At least my husband's not on IG.
Yeah, that would be doing a lot.
He be under the comments.
I hate it. I'm about to block him from Marriage Pinnacle. But it does make you put up that mirror to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely does. It does.
That is a very good point.
It is. So I do feel like, in marriages, I think that you have to be honest, so obviously that 98%, I got more work to do than that. But like, I think that it does start with you recognizing like the areas that you need to work on. Because the thing is, it's like, and this is the same thing I tell my patients, right? Like, you can come and bring a situation to me every week, but like, this is a theme here.
Like, you're the common denominator.
Like, the theme here is like the same thing every week. It's just a different person or a different situation or a different day.
But you are the same person.
But the theme is the same. So like, let's get to the bigger themes and not try to fix these little situations and put band-aids over little issues and work on fixing the bigger problem, aka the red flag that you have and also that your spouse has. So I definitely think that it is very possible to address red flags, but it does come with like real conversations. It comes with us being like honest about, okay, this is what's been happening. We've been married for X amount of years, and I do understand that this is an issue that has come up multiple times for us. We need to make changes because it's really impacting how we operate in this marriage. You know what I'm saying? And think about it, because, we're not even talking about, like, we're not even getting to things like resentment, but like, that's the type of stuff that stews when red flags, when you're in marriage, when you aren't addressing red flags.
And how important is accountability and all that?
Girl.
Because that's like a bad word to some people.
Accountable?
It's like you just cussed at me.
You did, like,
accountable. Me? And people blame women, that women are just not accountable.
Oh, no, that's is that a
standard?
That's literally like what people say, like, oh no, women don't
women will not take accountability.
I don't think that's all the way true, but I do feel that there is some truth in there. But like, I just feel like there does need to be some accountability. Like, if you think you're perfect, and if you think, and I think this goes back to even our submission episode, right? Like, when a wife cannot trust their husband because the husband is moving without the family's best interest at heart, that's where things like resentment come in.
Yeah, for sure.
But then also on the flip side, right? Like, the wife has crazy spending habits, and like, the man is like trying to figure it out, and this girl keeps spending the money.
I feel attacked.
I promise you, that was just an example. That was not directed towards you. I'm
just kidding.
That was just the stereotypical, like, women spend money. Like, it was
exactly. Not me at all.
But yes, so
a hit dog is going to holler, and I'm hollering.
So like, yeah. So like,
but
so like, the man is resentful because it's like, dog, like, I'm trying to do this for our family, and like, you not really pulling your weight. So I feel like on those same types of tokens, we need to be able to see it from both sides. So I feel like in marriage, we need to still talk about red flags because we also, like, things come up, experiences come up in marriage that change us and change the, like, how we act and how we see the world. And that could also lead to different things kind of popping up out of nowhere.
Like things that did not exist
before
10 years ago when we were dating.
There you go.
But that are now popping up. Especially, and we have another episode on like kids and how they change you and stuff. Yeah. But that's another, like, having kids. People don't talk about how much that changes you. Husband, wife, mother, father.
Oh yeah.
It changes so many things about you.
Absolutely.
It changes your priorities. Changes things you care about. It changes how you see yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
I could see a lot of red flags popping up. once you become a parent.
That's good. That's good. I didn't even think about that. That's real good, I think. Yeah. So, you know, obviously, you know, in this episode, we think it's so important to, like, obviously we always want to do takeaways, right? So like, obviously the episode was on red flags today and green flags, and having these conversations, because what we don't want, you know, I don't think we said the D word, but like, for our married folks, we're not wanting divorce.
Yeah, that we're trying to avoid that.
We're trying to avoid
like,
divorce.
by all means.
We're trying to avoid broken marriages. We're trying to avoid relationships that probably should be ended.
Yeah.
Based on red flags and green flags. And I think for our girlies who are not, and our guys who are not married yet, having these conversations, being open about your red flags, being open about your non-negotiables are super important.
Yeah.
But then in marriage as well, like, now we're in it. You know, how can we move these red flags to green flags so that we're not having to talk about divorce? Like, you know, at the end of the day, valleys come with marriage. It does. But we are striving to push the agenda that, like, in the valley you can still get out of it.
You can.
You can get back to a healthy place in your marriage. You know, so it's so important to have these conversations. So, Memi, like, what's one takeaway you got for the people?
So, I definitely think one of my takeaways is that you have your bucket of universal red flags. You have your bucket of personal red flags. So, I feel like in developing your personal red flags, it's important to look behind you, look at your past experiences, your past relationships. Take inventory, like what worked in those relationships, what did not work in those relationships, why did those things not work, why was that so painful to go through, why was that breakup so bad, and why was that relationship so toxic. What kind of person was that? What values was he bringing to the table? What character was she bringing to the table? And try to take note of that. Like, okay, so I don't want that again. So that becomes a personal red flag. That becomes something that I don't want to redo. Because what do they say? They say a fool is someone who does the same thing over and over.
The definition of insanity.
Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So you can't keep getting with the same type of person and wonder why nothing works. That's good. You know, and you can have a type, of course, physically or whatever, or whoever they are. You can have a type, but if your type is something that is toxic to you, then you need to do that work and figure out, what is that? Like, why are you attracted to those kind of people? Why are those people attracted to you? What does that mean? So so definitely curating your red and green flag list based on your history.
That's good. Yeah. I would obviously plug therapy.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely plug that. And that also goes, like, for our dating girls and guys, like premarital counseling. Like,
please.
You know, and again, this is not a selling episode. We're not trying to sell the conversation cards. You can get conversation cards from anywhere. But you need to have conversations. Like, it cannot be like I'm putting on my best front, I'm putting on my best face, just for the sake of wanting to be married, wanting to be in a relationship, wanting to finally get the process going because I feel like my clock is ticking and whatever. Like, you need to be real.
Freeze your eggs, ladies, if you can. If you can.
Right. Like,
but that is
there's just other methods is what I think she was in essence saying. But, like, we need to have conversations, and, like, if you are not your best self, become your best self. Through therapy. If it's couples therapy, there's no harm in that. For our married folks, there's no harm in saying, you know what, we need to be in a better spot. Our engine is not running as efficiently as possible. Let's get a tune-up and let's do the work. You know what I mean? I feel like those are just important things to consider, right? And obviously, like she said, red flags are not deal breakers. You can have them, be aware of them, and then also kind of determine how this will impact me long term, and then from there determine if this is something you're willing to continue.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's all I have. Anything else?
No, nothing else. This is good. Thank you. Good
So
conversation.
again, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, we hope that you would like, comment, and subscribe. That lets us know that we are doing something right.
Yay.
You can check us out on all of our social media platforms: Instagram, YouTube, X. That's what it's called.
Twitter.
Still
Twitter.
Twitter. And TikTok.
Yeah.
And let us know. We love your listener letters. Send them in. And stay tuned for another episode from Chats from the Peak.
Thank you.